So I want to lay this out for the audience, and then I'm going to open up. I'm going to give you an open-ended question, just kind of let you take it away.
Sure.
All right. So you might be the only person I know, and it would be a very short list of people, period, who could check all of the forthcoming boxes. Okay. You personally know the current ambassador to Israel and the current Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Box checked. Mm-hmm. Right? You currently know, you personally know the President of the United States. Box checked. Right? You personally know Tucker Carlson. Box checked. You've been to Israel numerous times, and you have your upcoming leadership summit. But the last couple of years, that has had a very heavy presence from those who also either live in Israel or are involved there. They give briefings about what's happening there and throughout the Middle East. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have a broad spectrum of way more than I do firsthand of all the various ideologies on our side about this moment and what led to it, et cetera, et cetera. So rather than teeing up a specific question, I think the best thing I could do is what I just did. Just let the audience know kind of that the amount of associations and that you have to all the various perspectives that are being subjected to right now on this. And then just the floor is now yours, and just ask you, what do you think?
And probably the one as you're going through that list there, one I thought of is I'm also on the advisory board of All Israel News, which is Joel Rosenberg's. A lot of your audience will know who Joel is, best-selling author. But, Steve, when I first went to Israel, it was back in 2014. And that's when Hamas was shooting missiles into Israel, into trying to get Jerusalem. But for sure, they're getting across the Gaza Strip, trying to blow things up. Obama declared Tel Aviv a no airspace. I mean, you couldn't fly into Tel Aviv. And I remember Rick Santorum said, hey, do you want to go to Israel? I said, I don't know if it sounds like a really good idea. I haven't been there. I'd love to go to Israel, but right now it doesn't sound like a great idea. And he said, now's the exact time we should go to Israel. So there's about a dozen of us who went to Israel at that time. Obviously, no tourism going on because of the missiles. You're hearing sirens at different times. At one time, Rick Santorum and I took shelter together in a stairwell together. And then Israelis just got about their daily life and they're living their life. Just like we'd get a tornado siren, we'd take cover, but pretty soon you figure, the storm's gone. Now I'm going to get out and check out my yard, my branches. That's kind of what they did. And I remember we went to a lot of military installations. We got a tour and a briefing of the Iron Dome. We went down to the Gaza Strip. We met military people. But I remember one conversation in particular, and that was Dory Gold. And Dory Gold was an advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And he says, you put your focus on Hamas, and Hamas is driving the news today. He said, don't ever take your eyes off of Iran. Iran has a mission statement. It's very clear, and that's to kill the little Satan, wipe it off the map, which is the nation of Israel, and then to kill the big Satan, wipe it off the map, that is the United States of America. And he said they're funding Hamas, they're funding Hezbollah, they're funding the Houthis, they're funding all of this, but that is their primary target, that's their primary objective. Then you take a look at President Trump, Mike Huckabee, know both of them. They know that a nuclear Iran is a dangerous entity for a lot of reasons, not only for the region and for the nation of Israel, but for the entire region and the entire world if you allow that reckless regime to have its hands on nuclear weapons. They have not abided by any red line whatsoever. They've always crossed the red lines. They've always flirted. They always flaunted by going over the red lines.
This is an important point. We're here because Trump offered them a deal for months.
All kinds of deals.
And they would not take him up on it.
As a matter of fact,
and Trump has proven he's willing to make deals with everybody in the Middle East that is willing to sit down. So it's not like they have any kind of excuse at all.
Yeah. And I really believe President Trump's heart is, I want peace in that region. Because he knows economic stability. He knows it's going to benefit the United States of America. He also knows our commitment to the nation of Israel, not just from a biblical standpoint, which we believe, and I believe he believes as well, but also from a strategic ally in the hostile region of the Middle East. And so they flaunted this red line. President Trump's offered him a lot of deals. Mike Huckabee, who I know very well, you know very well, now the ambassador to Israel. Same kind of thing is that right now, when Israel said, we're going to uproot Hamas after what they did on October 7, 2023, we're going to take it out. We're going to uproot that entire place. And President Trump basically echoed that by saying we could make the Gaza Strip the Riviera of the Middle East. Okay? It's beautiful territory. But if you're going to uproot it, by every stretch, you have to go after Iran. And I think right now Israel sees an opening. I've been quite impressed by their strategic nature of taking out military leaders and saying we are going to weaken Iran and destroy its mission and its intent and empower the people of Iran who don't want this reckless regime either to take it over. You go to the flip side with Tucker Carlson. Tucker and I have been friends for quite a while, and he and I have had conversations on Israel. I think Tucker, more than anything, and even though I tweeted by saying I think Tucker's wrong on this one, and I believe President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and Mike Huckabee are right on this one, I think Tucker's trying to put a caution flag of this love affair we have with the nation of Israel, that we're just going to dance to whatever tune that they start to play, that we're going to be right in bed and we're going to put our resources to another foreign war. I get that. I get that. But you take a look at everything that's in play right now, I fully believe Benjamin Netanyahu's right. I believe it was the right to defend and protect the nation of Israel. I think he's doing exactly what he's trying to do. And I think where Trump said to Iran and the regime, saying, listen, I gave you every plausible deal there was. You didn't take it. Now you're going to suffer the consequences. I beg you to make whatever deal you can now to make this stop. Because Israel's not done yet. From my understanding, they got a couple of weeks of strategic hits yet planned out.
So I want to, again, reiterate. I'm not trying to play referee here between the Levin and Carlson camps and their views on this. I know both these guys, not really well, but I don't know Tucker nearly as well as you do, for example, but I do know both of them. They've both platformed me in the past. They've both been kind to me in the past. I have a lot of respect for both of them. When you hear me use the phrase, we're not a nation of immigrants, we're a nation of citizens, I ripped that right off from Mark Levin. Okay. And there have been plenty of times when, Tucker's last few years on Fox that, it was like his show and our show, it felt like it was a mind meld. Okay. So it's not that I'm ever opposed to having a dog in the fight. I really don't, because I don't know how this is going to play out. So I'm not trying to be above it all. I'm just saying I don't know it all. Okay. And because the level of devastation of this preemptive strike from Israel has, I think, even shook the confidence of the co-belligerents of Iran. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that were surmised to immediately get involved should Israel ever do this are quiet as kept right now. Now, did they get a message? Don't mess with us? Are they recalibrating how they're going to respond? There are things that we don't yet know, okay? Clearly, in the immediate aftermath, the concerns that Tucker Carlson wing had of instant spillover, regional conflict, the BRICS nations would respond, China would respond. None of that has happened. Okay. But I would also say to the Levin wing to pretend as if that will be the case if this goes on indefinitely. I wouldn't do that either. Okay. I think we are watching a complete reshaping of the Middle East and U.S. foreign policy towards Israel and the level of engagement it will do in this part of the world. This is the event I think that's going to shape for the next generation of what this is going to look like. And if the Levin wing is by and large vindicated, our policy moving forward will favor more of what they're saying. And if the Carlson wing, is vindicated by what comes later, then our foreign policy in the future, by and large, I think will tilt in that direction. I just think right now there are things we don't know. Okay.
I think what you just said, Steve, that's very well said, because I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not above it all either. And I think you're exactly right from the Carlson wing to, say, the Levin wing. What I also know, though, is Yakil Leiter, who was here to speak at our leadership summit, which is coming up Friday, July 11, last year. He's now the ambassador of Israel to the United States. And when Yakil Leiter came, the reason we had him speak at our leadership summit, he lost his son in that Hamas war. And his son was the oldest intelligent officer that was lost. I believe he had 4 or 5 children at the time when he was lost. And Yakil is one of the brightest intellects on Middle East everything. And so we had him speak at our leadership summit. And Yakil said this, you're dealing with pure evil. they raise these kids on the breast milk of we have to annihilate Israel and the Jews, and we have to annihilate the United States, period, full stop. He said, now everybody's going to stand with Israel initially after the October 7 invasion, 2023. He said, but what happens, and he was almost foreshadowing this, what happens when we really do protect and defend ourselves and they see Iran as a threat, and they're basically saying, you can't leave Iran unchecked anymore. You've got to make them pay a price. And they'd even say, even if the aftermath is what Carlson is saying, we have to inflict, we're not taking this anymore. And so he's saying, were they going to stand with us post, like we're talking right now, current time? Mm-hmm. And I think what you're seeing with President Trump did not want this to happen. President Trump wanted every deal. Matter of fact, Marco Rubio went out and said, listen, Israel is acting on its own right now. We're not.
You don't think there was any kind of subterfuge here with Netanyahu and Trump? You don't?
I think what it is that Netanyahu said, no, we need to do this. And now Trump's saying, okay, they did it. Our hands aren't on it. But now Iran, make the deal. Make the deal before all heck breaks loose. I think everybody has always understood between Israel and Iran, that's a tinderbox. I mean, that's biblical. That's way back in the Old Testament times. This is a tinderbox. What's going to happen out of this? I don't know. But do I believe Israel has a right to protect and defend itself? I believe it does. I think they're making the right calls right now. And one last thing, Steve. Joel Rosenberg wrote a great piece in All Israel News about Netanyahu's goal to reshape the dynamics in the Middle East. That's what he's trying to do right now. I think he believes he has an opportunity, and he's going to take it.
I mean, just to show how divided Trump's own coalition is on this. Earlier this morning, the aforementioned Tucker Carlson was on with Steve Bannon. Right, so, I mean, these are probably the two most respected thought leaders in terms of MAGA as a coalition. Okay, and Carlson just said to Steve Bannon earlier this morning, quote, "I don't want my country to be further weakened or destroyed by another one of these wars. And if you can't connect the dots after 25 years of this crap, you're either too dumb to participate in the conversation or you're Mark Levin, just a liar who doesn't care." End quote. Okay, so again, this is the internal dialogue we're having on our own side. All right, and I urge the audience at the top to be very suspicious of anything that says it's anonymous to or from the White House. These coalitions are very well represented in the White House. They're all leaking against one another right now because everybody understands however the law of unintended consequences plays out here. Your narrative, if it's on the wrong side, you're toast in the next generation. All right, if Tucker's wing turns out to be prophetic, our relationship with Israel will never be as cozy as the previous generation had it ever again. It will never happen again. On the other hand, if Tucker and his group now look like the climate alarmist of American foreign policy, they'll absolutely be discredited. One of those things or the other is going to happen. So there's a lot riding on this in terms of future political positioning as well.
I think you're right. The two conclusions that Tucker offers, I think, are way too simplified and way too extreme on either end. Either you're lying, which I do not think Mark Levin is lying, or that you're too stupid to take. I don't think that's the case either. What Tucker has found out through the reading of Scripture, and Nina and I have had these conversations, he is realizing that everything is coming down to more a deal. I mean, the trans situation, all that. It's a spiritual war. This is good versus evil. I would argue what you're seeing in the Middle East right now is good versus evil. Does that mean Israel's perfect? Does that mean Netanyahu's? Absolutely not. But it is good versus evil. And what Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah have been fostering, that has been evil about we're going to kill, we're going to annihilate, we're going to wipe this nation off the earth. How do you deal with that mission statement? You cannot deal with a mission statement like that. You either have to cage it or kill it. I mean, that's the only way you can deal with it.